So good afternoon, everyone. Hello.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yesterday we discussed trunk extension, and today we will discuss MMT of flexion. So these two slides we have seen yesterday itself. This will create towards a good normal grade, and we will be discussing these 3-4 points in each and every grade. So when you talk about the muscles of trunk flexion, yes, there are many muscles, but this is major muscle. Other than this, there are few muscles, but this is major muscle: rectus abdominis, oblique externus, and obliquus internus. So these are the three major muscles of trunk flexion. Rectus, this is rectus abdominis. I'm not going detail about the anatomy, so just we will discuss only origin and insertion. That is proximal attachment and distal attachment of rectus abdominis. Proximal attachment is xiphoid process, costal cartilage of 5 ribs, that is 5 to 7 ribs. Costal cartilage of 5 to 7 ribs. Yeah. So what are the origin? Xiphoid process of the sternum and the costal cartilage of ribs 5 to 7. It is 5, 6, 7. Costal cartilage. This is costal cartilage. From here to here it is costal cartilage. 5, 6, 7 of costal cartilage and sternum. So this is the proximal attachment. Here. Distal attachment, crest and symphysis of the pubic bone. Here, this area. Crest and symphysis of the pubic bone. So because of the tendinous inscriptions of the muscle, you can see the 4 separate boxes. So that is why it is called as a six-pack muscle. Normally there is no 6 packs, 4 packs. Usually you can find 4 packs. Clear? 1, 2, 3, 4. But usually it is called as 6 pack. Normally it should be called as either 4 pack or 8 pack on both the sides. Next, external and internal oblique muscle. One is external, other is internal. Attachments of you go through later. External oblique, this is external oblique. Lower 8 ribs. Proximal attachment is lower 8 ribs. Here. That is 11, from 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 8 ribs and 5. That is from rib 5 to, from 5 to 12. Ribs are the proximal attachment. Clear? So this is 5th rib, this is 12th rib. So the muscle proximal attachment is like this. What is the distal attachment? Abdominal aponeurosis, pubic bone, inguinal ligament, anterior iliac crest. Clear? This is anterior iliac crest, abdominal aponeurosis, and what else? Pubic bone, inguinal ligament. This is inguinal ligament. Yes. Inguinal ligament is from here to here. This is inguinal ligament. So here also it takes origin, attachment. So what are the attachment? Distal attachment, abdominal aponeurosis, pubic bone, inguinal ligament, and anterior crest. And what is internal oblique? Lower 3 ribs. This is lower 8 ribs. Clear? This is lower 3 ribs and abdominal aponeurosis. This is the proximal attachment. In this view, in this, this is 1, 2, and 3. Yes. And abdominal aponeurosis. Distal attachment is inguinal ligament, iliac crest, thoracolumbar fascia. You go through this. Okay. Now coming to testing trunk flexion. Yesterday we discussed trunk flexion means it consists of both thoracic. Yesterday we discussed extension, trunk extension. So trunk extension, it includes thoracic extension and lumbar extension. Okay. Same way, flexion also, if you call trunk flexion, it includes both thoracic flexion and lumbar flexion. Clear? So, trunk flexion has multiple elements that include both thoracic and lumbar motion. So, yesterday we discussed the same point. We have to first evaluate cervical and hip muscle testing before evaluating trunk muscle. If you remember, we have discussed this yesterday. If you want to check the trunk muscle test, first you have to check the cervical muscle power and hip muscle testing. Clear? So same test for neck flexion should precede the test for trunk flexion. Yes, of course, hip will also come. So neck and hip muscle power should be checked first before evaluating trunk flexion. Why it is necessary? Because appropriate support can be given. That I will, at this point, I will explain in the later part of the lecture. Suppose if neck flexion is weak, then you will provide additional support. Yes. So that is the reason, if neck flexion, flexor muscle is strong, then no need to give support during evaluation. So that is the purpose of evaluating the neck muscle testing or cervical muscle testing. Okay. Now coming to grade 5. Yesterday we discussed grade 5 and grade 4 is same for thoracic and lumbar. Yesterday we discussed. Now we are here, there is no such separation. So directly we will go for grade 5. Okay. Position of the patient is, I show the diagram first. This is the position of patient and therapist. So you have to keenly watch the position of the patient. Clear? The hand is behind the head. Hand is behind the head and patient is standing at the level of chest. Supine patient position is supine with hands clasped behind head. Position of the therapist standing at the side of the table at the level of patient chest. Okay. What is the alternate position? Yesterday we discussed. If the hip muscles are weak, then the position is altered. That is, position of therapist is altered. How? This is the position. Same as yesterday we discussed. Clear? So, if the hip flexor muscle is If hip flexor muscle is strong, then you will just stand by the side. No need to support ankle as you are doing in extension. Clear? If hip muscle is strong, hip flexor muscle is strong, then you will stand by the side. No need to support. Clear? But if hip muscle is weak, then you have to support. So this is the difference. So this is alternate position for physiotherapist. Position for patient, it is same. Position of patient is same. Position of therapist, it changes according to the flexor muscle strength. Test. Patient flexes the trunk through range of motion. Curl up should be emphasized. What is curl up? Curl up is patient has to flex the body from superior to inferior. Clear? That is called curl up. Curl up. First neck flexion, next thoracic flexion, then lumbar flexion. So this is called curl up. So curl up should be emphasized. Clear? Curl up should be emphasized until the scapula clear the table. Until the scapula clears the table. This is the test. And what instruction you will give? Tuck your chin and bring your head, shoulders, arms off the table as in sit-up. So this is the instruction you will give. Now, we will grade it. Patient completes range of motion until, suppose this instruction you are given. This instruction you are given. Now, according to the performance of the patient, you will grade. Now, what is grade 5? Patient completes range of motion until inferior angle of the scapula are off the table. Yes. Patient completes range of motion until the inferior angle of the scapula are off the table. That is, this is somewhere scapula, you know. This is scapula. Clear? So this point should be off the table. If the inferior angle of the scapula, the patient can able to raise the body until the inferior angle of the scapula is off the table, then the patient is having muscle power 5. Here, as we discussed yesterday, weight of the arm is equal to giving the resistance. We don't give resistance in 5 and 4. As we discussed yesterday, weight of the arm itself, it serves as the resistance. What is grade 4? Now, for grade 4, patient position is changed. Listen carefully. What is patient position? Kalpesh. Sorry. So patient position, you see the position changed here. Not for physiotherapist, for patient. Here. See, the hands are crossed. Hands are crossed in grade 4. In grade 5, hands clasped behind the head. This is grade 5 position. This one and this one grade 5 position. But in grade 4, you will cross the arms. Clear? So now, position of the patient supine with arm crossed over the chest. And rest are seen. Instruction what you will give? You will ask the patient to curl up. Clear? If patient completes range of motion, raises the trunk until the scapula are off the table. Again it is same. Clear? Now the resistance is reduced. From clasped hand to cross the arm, the resistance is reduced. Resistance of the arm is reduced in the cross chest position. Clear? So now what is 4? If he can able to raise the scapula, inferior border of the scapula of the table, it is same as 5, but only changes position of the hand. Clear? So this is grade 4. Now coming to grade 3. Position of the patient is, now you see the position. Position of the patient, arm. It is outstretched arm in full extension. So what are the 3 positions of the patient in grade 5? Hands are behind the head. In grade 4, hands are crossed, arms are crossed. In grade 3, arms are outstretched. So this is position of patient. Clear? In all the 3 procedures, you will ask the patient to curl up. If the scapula, inferior border of scapula is off the table, then muscle power is 5, 4 or 3 in different position. Now the resistance further reduced. In grade 3, outstretched hand, behind hand resistance is more. Cross hand resistance is little bit less. And outstretched hand, further the resistance is reduced. And instruction is same. Inferior border, you should give instruction is, he should clear the scapula. Scapula should be cleared from the table. Now, grade 2 to grade 0. We have completed 3. Patient completes range of motion and flexes the trunk until the inferior angle of the scapula is off the table. We have already discussed. Now grade 2. So what is left? 2, 1, 0. These grades are left. So you will assess these muscle strength. You will assess these grades in a sequence. Sequence 1. First you will do sequence 1. Second you will do sequence 2 and sequence 3. So what is the sequence? First sequence for grade 2, all the sequence, this is starting position. This is starting position for all the grade. Now sequence 1. Sequence 1. What you will do in sequence 1? Ask the patient to lift the head from the table. Ask the patient to lift the head from the table. If scapula is cleared, then we already discussed muscle power is 3. If scapula is cleared in 3, what we discussed? Clear. In this position, if scapula is cleared off the ground, then muscle power is 3, we discussed. So in 2, the position, you see the arm is resting on the table. Clear. But here, it is not resting on the table. Arm. So this is starting position. That is arm by the side or on the table. So from this position, you will ask the patient to raise the head. If the scapula is not cleared, then scapula is not cleared, then grade is 2. Clear? In this starting position, if scapula is not cleared, then grade is 2. Suppose if patient cannot lift the head. Suppose here patient can lift the head. Clear? Patient can lift the head, but he is not clearing the scapula. Then the muscle power is called 2. Suppose if patient cannot lift the head, then you go for second sequence. This is sequence number 2. So what is difference here? Here you are given support. Clear? Sequence 2. So this sequence is called as assisted forward lean. Assisted forward lean. Again I will repeat. First, in this is starting position to check yes. This position is the starting position for 2. From this position, you ask the patient to lift the head and clear the scapula. If the patient can lift the head and he cannot clear the scapula, then the muscle power is 2. Muscle power is 2. Suppose if patient cannot lift the head, then you go for next procedure. That is called assisted forward lean. This is called assisted forward lean. The examiner cradles the upper trunk and head off the table. That is, he is giving support. And now he is asking the patient to lean forward. After giving support, he is asking the patient to lean forward. If there is depression of rib cage, you have to practice practically. If you have any models in your home, once you practice these sequences, yes, if patient can able to lift the head and not clearing the scapula, then you conclude the grade is 2. Suppose if he cannot lift the head, then you give support and ask the patient to lean. When the patient is trying to do the procedure, if there is depression of rib cage, then also the muscle power is called as 2. This is sequence number 2. What is sequence number 2? Sequence number 2 will be given if head cannot be flexed. If head is not flexed, if the patient cannot lift the head, then you will go for sequence 2. What you had given? You had given support, and now you are asking the patient to lean forward. When the patient is trying to bend forward, lean forward, if the rib cages are getting depressed, then also the muscle power is 2. During this procedure, if there is no depression of the rib cage, or if there is visible or palpable contraction, you are already palpating here. In muscle power 2, the ribs will contract, or the ribs will go down, or the ribs will one second. If the ribs are depressed, then depression of the rib cage. If there is a depression of the rib cage, then the muscle power is 2. So what is in sequence 1 we discussed? If the patient can lift the head, not clearing the scapula, then also the grade is 2. Here also 2, and with support, if the ribs are depressed, that is also 2. If he cannot depress the ribs, if there is no depression of the rib cage, but visible or palpable contraction occurs, then it is called grade 1. And if there is no activity, then it is 0. I think you are clear. So what we discussed, from grade 2 to 0, you have to follow the sequence. What is the first sequence? Here in the same page I will explain again. In the first sequence, what you have done? Arms by the side, patient arm is by the side, and you are asking the patient to lift the head. If he can able to lift the head, and if scapula is not cleared, then it is grade 2. What is next sequence? If patient cannot lift the head, but the ribs depress, then also the muscle power is 2. Clear? Am I right? But here what additional you are given? You are given support. Additionally you are given here support. Here. What is next? Sequence 3. If the patient cannot able to, or third, what is third sequence? Here already you have concluded. In the sequence 2 itself, you have concluded what is the grade. 0, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 and 0. If the rib is depressing, muscle power is 2. If the ribs are not depressing, there is no depression and palpable contraction, grade is 1. If there is no activity, then grade is 0. Clear? And then proceed to sequence 3. So what is sequence 3 here? Again, patient position and therapist position are same. Now ask the patient to cuff. If the patient can cough to any degree and depression of the rib cage occurs, again this is grade 2. Basically the sequences are different. In all the sequences you are finding out what is the grade. Now in sequence 3 what you are doing, you are asking the patient to cough. You can try yourself in lying position. If you are coughing, then the ribs will contract or ribs will depress. Now ask the patient to cough. Supported position. Ask the patient to cough. If the patient can cough to any degree and the depression of the rib cage occurs, then it is grade 2. Patient cannot cough but there is a palpable abdominal activity. Grade 1. If there is lack of any demonstrable activity, then grade 0. So this is 3 sequences. So it may slightly confuse, but once you again go through the slides, so it will be easy for you. Clear? Okay, now I'll go for last slide. So now 2 slides are left. 2 slides are left. One is, what will happen if abdominal muscles are weak? And what will happen if the extensor muscles are weak? Extensor muscles of spine, lumbar spine. Clear? You first try to understand abdominal muscles are, what are the abdominal muscles? Rectus abdominis, external obliquus, internal obliquus. If these muscles are weak, then what will happen when you are testing the patient? If extensor muscles of the spine are weak, opposite, this is antagonist muscle, opposite muscle. If extensor muscles of the lumbar spine are weak, then what will happen when you are performing the test? First is, listen carefully, if the abdominal muscles are weak, so what is abdominal muscles? Imagine patient is lying and patient is lying supine. This is cervical lordosis. Cervical lordosis, thoracic kyphosis, and lumbar lordosis. This is lumbar lordosis. Clear? So what is first point? If abdominal muscles are weak, where is abdominal muscles? Here is abdominal muscles. If abdominal muscles, and where is extensor muscles? Here is the extensor muscles. Clear? First is, we will discuss what will happen if abdominal muscles are weak. If abdominal muscles are weak, reverse action of hip flexors will occur. When the patient is trying to lift, curl up, where is this is hip flexors. Here is the hip flexors. Here, when the patient is performing the curl up, if abdominal muscles are weak, then hip flexors will function in the reverse direction. What is normal function? What is normal function of the hip? Normally the hip functions in this direction. That is femur flexion. Yeah, femur flexion. So what is reverse action? Reverse action is, this one is called reverse action. Again I'll explain. If the abdominal muscles are weak, when patient is trying to curl up, the hip flexor will go for reverse action. What will happen if the hip flexors contract in the reverse direction? This is femur. This is femur, and this is pelvis. Clear? So where is hip flexors? Here is the hip flexors. Are you clear what I am drawing? This is pelvis, and this is femur. And here is the what? Iliacus. Of course, from psoas major will take origin from the what? Vertebrae. This is psoas major. It takes origin from here. From here, transverse process of all the lumbar vertebrae. Here. So what will happen if the muscle is contracting in the reverse direction? That is this direction. The pelvis will be lifted up. The pelvis will be lifted up, or it is otherwise called as pelvis will be lifted forward like this. This is called anterior pelvic tilt. So anterior pelvic tilt will occur if abdominal muscles are weak during curl up. Clear? What will happen if the pelvis is tilting anteriorly? Lordosis will be exaggerated. Lordosis will be exaggerated in anterior pelvic tilt. That is what here mentioned. If abdominal muscles are weak, reverse action of the hip flexors may cause lumbar lordosis. So, you palpate one hand in the lumbar region, clear? Lumbar region, clear? And you find out whether the lordosis is exaggerating or not. I think you are clear. While performing the test, you place one hand in the lumbar region and ask the patient to do the test. If abdominal muscles are weak, then hip flexors will contract in reverse direction and the lumbar lordosis will be exaggerated. Clear? So this is first one you should know. Patient should. So now what you will do in this situation? You have to position the hip in the flexed position. Now you see here. See, the patient is in crook lying position. You know, this is called as a crook lying. So if the patient is positioned in the crook lying, then you are making the hip flexors inefficient. You are making the hip flexors inefficient. Clear? What is the function of iliopsoas? It flexes the hip. During test, the hip flexors are contracting in the reverse direction and lumbar lordosis is exaggerating. So how you can prevent this? By keeping the foot, hip and knee in this position, that is crook lying position, you can prevent the contraction of iliopsoas. You can prevent the contraction of hip flexors, because by taking this position, crook lying position, you had already made hip flexors inefficient. So what will happen? Lumbar lordosis, here it will not increase, or hip flexors will not contract in reverse direction if you achieve this position. If abdominal muscles are weak, reverse action of the hip flexors may cause lumbar lordosis. Then what you will do? You will achieve this position, that is patient should position with hip flex position. Now last slide. If the extensor muscles of the lumbar spine are weak. Now listen carefully. If extensor muscles of the lumbar spine is weak, that is this muscle. Contraction of the abdominal muscle can cause posterior tilt of the pelvis. If the abdominal muscles, if the extensor muscles is weak, then abdominal muscle will overact. Abdominal muscles will overact, and what it will do? It will, this is the pelvis. The muscle is taking, what is the origin of rectus femoris? Attachment of rectus abdominis. First, in the first slide we discussed. So this is the diagram. Rectus abdominis. If the muscle is contracting in this direction, what will happen? It will tilt the pelvis posteriorly. It will tilt the pelvis posteriorly. So here is the pelvis, Here is the pelvis. And the muscle is attached here. Here. What will happen if the muscle is contracting in this direction? It will tilt the pelvis posteriorly like this. When the muscle is contracting in this direction, why this is happening? Because extensor muscle is weak. If extensor muscle is strong, then it will stabilize the pelvis and the patient can able to lift the body. But instead, if extensors are weak, then what will happen? There will be a posterior pelvic tilt. Here, the abdominal muscle is contracting in the reverse direction. Give this slide again. If extensor muscle of the lumbar spine are weak, contraction of the abdominal muscle can cause posterior tilt of the pelvis. If this situation exists, tension of the hip flexor muscle would be used to stabilize the pelvis. You understand this point? If the situation exists, that is, if the pelvis is tilting posteriorly, clear? In the previous slide what we discussed, if the pelvis is tilting anteriorly, clear, what you will do, you will position the hip in flex position. Clear? In this situation, pelvis is tilting anteriorly. Here pelvis is tilting anteriorly and lumbar lordosis exaggerated, increased. And the lordosis increased. What will happen in, so what you are doing, you are keeping the hip in the flexion position. So now it is reversed. Here what is happening? Pelvis is tilting posteriorly. Pelvis is tilting posteriorly. So what you will do, if pelvis is tilting posteriorly, what you will do, you will keep the femur in extended position. Why? Because in order to stretch the hip flexors, when hip flexor muscle is taut, when the hip flexor muscle are stretched, by keeping the femur in extended position, then pelvis will not go in this direction, or in other words, posterior pelvic tilt is prevented, or it is posterior pelvic tilt is prevented. This movement is prevented by keeping hip in neutral position or hip in extended position or iliopsoas muscle in stretched position. Clear? So no need to confuse. So we have discussed only 2 points. What will happen? What will happen? In first case we discussed what will happen if the abdominal muscles are weak, that is trunk flexors. And we discussed what will happen if the trunk extensors are weak. So what is the final conclusion? If flexors are weak, you will keep the hip in flexed position. If extensors are weak, you will keep hip in extended position. This is final statement. If flexor muscles are weak, keep the hip joint in flexed position, and if extensors are weak, keep the hip in the extended position. Why you will do this? In order to prevent the pelvic tilt. In first case, it is anterior pelvic tilt, and in second case, it is posterior pelvic tilt. So this is the additional point. You just see what is the grade. You just know how to check the muscle grade. Five position. What is the 5 position? Starting position. Hands behind the neck. Sorry, head. This is alternate position. And this is for 4. 4 is crossed arm. And what is grade 3? It is arms by the side. In all the 3 cases, the scapula inferior border should be off the table. or off the couch when you are asking during the testing position. So what is 2 we discussed? 2 to 0. This is starting position. If he can lift the head and not clearing the scapula 2, and if he cannot lift the head, then what you will do? You will assist and then you will ask the patient to lift. Clear? If he is lifting, again it is 2. If he is clearing, it is 2. If he is not clearing, it is 1. You will palpate the muscle. Clear? You will palpate the muscle contraction. If you can feel the palpation, that is 1. And if you cannot palpate any contraction, then it is 0. And then we discussed sequence 3. You are asking the patient to cough. You go through this last slide. Ask the patient to cough. If there is depression, then 2. If the patient cannot cough, there is palpable rectus abdominis activity 1. There is no activity, then it is 0. That is all. And last we discussed 2 points. What will happen if muscles are weak, abdominal flexors, and what will happen if extensors are weak, and how you will position the patient. Any doubt? Any doubt?